walked 3,125 miles just for you. Yep. That's the message for today. You know, how many miles you willing to walk? You know, for me. Or how many miles you willing to walk? For your loved one, for whoever. You know? Again, we got to go back to the number one example, Yahshua, the one that came, our Messiah, and died for us. How many miles he walked? Take a wild guess. Yep, you guessed it. 3,125. Just in case you didn't know. Now you know. Let's go ahead and jump right into some scripture and see what people did and how people walk to save people. What we call to do as disciples of Yahshua, if we truly follow in Yahshua's footsteps, then we're going to be walking. Yep. Let's get it. So we're going to go in Genesis and see the first destruction. The first destruction in Genesis. Go to Genesis 6. Genesis 6. And we're going to go to Genesis 6, verse 5. Bereshith is the Hebrew word for Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 5. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahuwah was sorry that he had made man on earth, and he was grieved in his heart. We're gonna read Genesis 5 through 9. Genesis 6, 5 through 9. Keep going. And Yahuwah said, I am going to wipe off man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping creature and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Let's read that again. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. And 9, this is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim. He walked with Elohim, right? He walked with Yah. Noah. Not Noah and Mark or Noah and Tony or whoever. It was Noah. That's one person. And we all know the story of Noah and the ark, and he built the ark, you know, and was righteous and listened to our Father Yah, and everything started over because of Noah. One person saved many people. It was only 8, but the world was able to exist. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Noah, right? Moving on. Let's go and see what Abraham did. And we're going to go to, we're going to stay in Genesis. We'll stay in Genesis 18. We're going to go to Genesis 18 and read a little bit. Genesis 18. What page that's on? 59. Genesis 18:17. Genesis 18:17. And we'll read through 33. And Yahuwah said, shall I hide from Abraham? Abram was his name then. What I'm doing? Since Abram is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed by him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abram what he has spoken to him. And Yahuwah said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very heavy, I'm going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it has come to me. And if not, I know. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Yahuwah still stood before Abram. So Yahuwah sent these angels, right, to see Abram, and they tell Abram about Sarah. And then when they was getting ready to leave, that's when Yahuwah said, well, should I tell Abram about what I'm about to do to Sodom and Gomorrah? And here we are now, okay? Let's keep going. And Abram drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous in it? So if there's 50 righteous people in the city, is he not going to spare the city? Just for them? That's what Abram was asking y'all. Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? He's talking to y'all like that, right? And Yahshua said, if I find Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sake. You see that? And he said, because of the 50 righteous, that he would spare all, not just the 50. Let's keep going. And Abram answered and said, look, please, who am I but dust and ashes? Have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are 5 less than 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the city of lack of 5? And he said, if I find 45, I do not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there are found 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of the 40. And he said, let not Yahuwah be displeased. Let me speak. Suppose there are 30. And he said, I would not do it if I found 30. And he said, look, please, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of those 20, right? For the sake of those 20. He would not destroy it. And he said, let not Yahuwah be displeased. Let me speak only this one last time. Suppose they are found 10. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. Then Yahuwah went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abram, and Abraham returned to this place. Right? Let's go down to 19. Let's read this one last verse. And the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Okay? So now we know that Abram had a conversation with Yah, the Most High God, and was asking them, will he spare? Just say it's the population of any city. It's probably be like what? 200,000 or something. Okay, just a regular little city, right? 200,000. Would Yah spare if it was 10 righteous people in that city? He said that he would spare, he went destroy that city if it was 10 of them in that city. Now that we know that, right? So now the angels going down to Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where Lot, right? Lot and his wife and his family lived at, right? And Lot saw them coming and meet them. Right? Okay. Let's go to 19. Let's go to 12. And let's read through 17. And the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, or whoever you have in the city, bring them out of this place. For we are going to destroy this place because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah is going to destroy this city. But his son-in-law, he seemed to be as one joking. So they thought that Lot was joking, huh? They thought he was joking. Yeah. One person again, Lot. And now he's telling his people, and they think he's joking. Y'all going to destroy this place. They think he's joking. Let's keep going. And when morning dawned, and the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, get up, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of this city. So you could be righteous, and y'all could want to spare you. But if you ain't listening to his voice, hurry. Unless you be consumed in the punishment, you're going to be exactly with the punishment that's coming. You're going to be with them if you don't hurry and do what y'all tell you to do when he send his messages, right? Okay. And while he loudered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand and the hands of his two daughters, Yah having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set them outside of the city. So we can see, and he was taking his time, right? So they took him out, took him by the hand, they dragged him out of there. Because Yah had compassion on, like, look, I'm about to destroy this, you better hurry up and get them out. And he had compassion, and they took him out of the city. And it came to be, when they had brought them outside, that he said, escape for your life, do not look behind, nor stay anywhere in the plain, escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed, right? So he gave him direction. Escape for your life. Escape to the mountains. Escape for your life, right? Do not look back. But we know what happened to Lot's wife. If y'all doing what you're supposed to be doing in studying scripture and reading up, we know that Lot's wife looked back, right? And we know what we just read about his sons-in-laws and some of his people thought he was joking. So they got left behind too and got destroyed, right? All right, let's move on. Let's go see what Moses was talking about. See how Moses walked, to save his people. Let's see what Moses did. Let's go to Exodus 3. Let's go to Exodus 3. Exodus 3. And we'll read Exodus 3. Let's go let's see. 1 through 11. Exodus 3, 1 through 11. Exodus 3. And we read 1 through 11. All right. All right. And Moshe is the Hebrew word for Moses. Moshe was shepherding the flock of Jericho, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked and he saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, let me turn aside now and see this great sight. Why does the bush does not burn? The bush is on fire, but it ain't burning, right? And Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to see, and Elohim called him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, here I am. And he said, do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for this place on which you are standing is a set apart ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abram, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid of Elohim, right? So this was the God of his ancestors, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And he was afraid. Let's keep going. And he said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mizraim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. So he heard their cry, right? In Egypt, Mizraim. The Hebrew word for Egypt, Mizraim, right? And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mizrahites, and to bring them up from that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hittites and the Yepites. Keep going. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mizrahites oppressed them. And now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mizraim. Okay? So, y'all sending one person again, right? Moses. To what? To save many. To save many. His people. To save many. Right? Let's go one more verse. And Moshe said to Allah, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, that I should bring the children of Israel out of Mizraim? So who am I? Who am I? And I'm nobody, but you're going to choose me to save a lot of people? Now, I really encourage, if you haven't read Exodus and just the history on Moses, oh man, you need to read it. You need to go read it right now. Cut me off. Go read Moshe. Go read the Torah. Matter of fact, go read the first 5 books, of your Bible or whatever you're reading. Go read it now. All right, let's go see what Jonah was talking about. Let's see what Jonah was talking about. We're going to go to Jonah 1. Started Yonah. Yonah is the Hebrew word for Jonah. Right? Let's read 1 through 3 right quick. And the word of Yahuwah came to Yonah, son of Emta, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry out against it, for their evils have come up before me. But Yonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah and went down the that's Jericho, right? Jericho, but Jethro, and found a ship going to Tarshish. And he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah, right? So he rose up to flee. That's the main thing we need to learn from these scriptures. He rose up to flee from the presence of Yahuwah, right? He rose up to flee from the presence of Yahuwah. Now, let's go to Yonah 3. Yonah 3, right? And we'll read 1 through 10. Jonah 3, 1 through 10. Jonah 3, 1 through 10. And the word of Yahuwah came to Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and proclaim to it the message that I am speaking to you, right? And we know that Jonah and the fish, right? And the whale, Jonah and the whale, and once he fled and he got on that ship and everything, then a great storm came and they was like, why is this storm coming? And they was praying, they believed in Yah too. And then that's when they come to find out that Yonah was doing something that was against Yah. So they threw him off the ship. And then that's when Yah got the whale, to swallow him up. And then eventually, the whale, he prayed or whatever, and the whale spit him out. And now he coming to him a second time and telling him, let's keep going. And Yonah arose and went to Nineveh according to the word of Yahuwah. Now Nineveh was a great city before Elohim of 3 days' journey. And Yonah began to go in the city on the first day's walk, and he cried out and said, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And the men of Nineveh believed in Elohim and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth from the greatest to the least of them. And the word reached the sovereign of Nineveh. So he arose from his throne, right? And he took off his robe and covered himself with sackcloth and sat in ashes, right? So the king, the leader, he even started fasting and stuff. Moving on. And he proclaimed and said throughout Nineveh, by degree of the sovereign of his nobles, no man or beast or herd or flock should taste whatever. Let them not eat. Let them not even drink water. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and call mightily to Elohim. Right? Pray out to Elohim, right? Pray out. Because he said he didn't send one of his messengers to us. and let each one turn from his evil ways and from the violence that is in his hands. Who knows whether Elohim does turn and relent and shall turn away from the heat of his displeasure so that we do not perish. Right? So they started repenting and fasting, sackcloth and ashes. And Elohim saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and Elohim relented from the evil which he had said he would do to them, and he did not do it. So, if Jonah would have never did that, then these people would have never repented and changed their way. They would have got destroyed, right? One person, Jonah. One person, Jonah. Jonah was chosen for a mission, right? Jonah was chosen for a mission. So, when we're chosen for a mission, then we need to arise and go. You know, Yahshua, he walked 3,125 miles in his ministry. How many miles have you walked? Me personally, I've walked a lot of miles. I've been, all over the country to deliver these messages of Yahuwah, the great Basora, the good news, his word, to spread his love, his message. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing. And that is what I'm going to continue doing until the great day comes and it's destruction. It's no more messages. There's no more walking miles, putting in his work, standing on business. And the chosen ones, these are the chosen ones, the ones that's chosen to go on these missions